What you must know is here. Show them the book. Tell them which is the book. Tell them which is the chapter. And that is what I mean by saying, don't be complete. Don't be complete simply means you identify those areas that need to be highlighted, then lead them to what they become self-directed learners. They become responsible learners if they are given the guidance. That is where your presence is required. The second one, I'll give you an example. Just I'm giving an example. Aplastic, don't worry about the example. It's just a bone marrow failure where I'm just giving an example what it is not to be complete. There is a condition called aplastic anemia. Anemia, all of you have heard, it's a situation where blood cells, particularly the red blood cells, are less. Here is a situation where the bone marrow does not produce cells. It is factory failure. Bone marrow which produces cells do not produce. Now, in the book, there are 50 causes given. And I have to give a lecture on aplastic anemia. It is meaningless if I stand here and say, there are 50 causes of aplastic anemia, and then you list all that is there in the book. Anybody can read the book. It is there in the book. Don't waste your time. You tell them, if there are 50 causes, please open your book. But all the causes will come under 6 I's. Inborn causes, infections, irradiation, insecticides. Iatrogenic means caused by drugs, or idiopathic unknown. I'm just telling you, don't be complete simply means showing a way to remember something, not just telling everything verbatim. And that is what is meant by don't be complete. You don't have to tell. You can tell them it is there, 50 causes are there in your book. Please go and read, but those 50 causes will come under 6 I's. That is one way. That's the first guideline. Second guideline is don't mention anything once. If something is worth remembering, it is worth repeating. It is worth reinforcing. It is worth recollecting. If something is worth remembering, it is worth repeating. I remember my professor. He was talking about a narrow mitral valve. There's a valve in the heart called the mitral valve. He asked a question. My dear students, do you know the causes of mitral valve stenosis? There is the valve becoming narrow. He said there are 5 causes. First is, he gave the condition, rheumatic carditis. Second cause, rheumatic carditis. Third cause, rheumatic carditis. Fourth cause, rheumatic carditis. Fifth cause, rheumatic carditis. We are wondering what's wrong with him. Same thing he's telling 5 times. He said, my dear students, I want you to remember, rheumatic carditis is almost always the cause of mitral stenosis in India. There might be 10 other causes, I don't care. But I want you to remember this one cause. I will repeat it 5 times. I might not even tell you what the other causes are. This is what is meant by saying what is important must be reinforced, reiterated. And that is possible if you don't complete. If you make an effort to complete everything, not possible. There's a time for you to reinforce and reiterate. Something worth remembering is worth reinforcing. First time when they hear something, they might not remember. Remember, they're hearing these terms, all these concepts for the first time. It may not be possible for them to register. You are an expert, you can remember. But please remember, your students may not be able to understand and register. And if that has to happen, please repeat, reinforce, even at the risk of someone saying why he or she is repeating. So second guideline, something is important, it is worth repeating. Tell them what you're going to say it, tell them what you have said. It simply means it is important. If something is important, please repeat. The third one, don't restate, create. Don't simply be a regurgitator. Be beyond regurgitation. What does that mean? And to explain creativity, I will give you an example. When I was a medical student, a first year clinical student, I had a professor who came to class and said, today I'm going to talk to you about back deformities. He brought a patient. Patient had a back problem and he was made to sit on the couch. And my professor said, please watch me. Watch me. All of us were made to stand back, and he said, when the British ruled India, they were lords. And then he walked like this. He walked like this. We laughed at him, this buffoon, what is he doing? He said, when the British ruled India, they were lords. He walked like this. And then he said, backward bending of the spine is lordosis. This patient then was made to walk. Patient was sitting there. He was sitting on the couch and he was made to walk. So he has lordosis, so he walked like this because his back was bent. He said, this patient is not a lord, but he has got lordosis. When the British ruled India, they did not have lordosis, but they were lords. Till today, I have not forgotten what is lordosis. Buffoonery was there, fun was there, laughter was there, but learning was there. That is creativity. My professor need not have done this. He could have very well started off saying lordosis is backward bending of the spine and then given a lecture on lordosis. But when he did that, at that time, we laughed at him. Today he is dead and gone, but he lives in me forever. That he did because he had that concern. At the end of this teaching session, my students, at least if they go back with an idea of what is lordosis, today I can remember backward bending of the spine. When the British ruled India, they were lords. And that is what I mean by saying creativity. Creativity is that ability to do something beyond the call of duty as far as the lecture is concerned. You're doing something beyond. That will make people laugh, that will probably be a little novel. And let us explore what is lordosis. Or for that matter, what is creativity. To understand the creativity, we'll explore what is creativity, just to make you understand what is creativity. If you look at a teacher can be useful. And of course, at the other end of the spectrum, a teacher who is not useful. I hope nobody is in this category, but for the sake of completion, I need to show the two ends of the spectrum. We call this the utility axis. Then comes the vertical axis, where the teacher is very interesting, very novel, like my professor who spoke about lordosis. Very interesting, very novel. Then there is a teacher who is very boring. Will give a lot of content, but not interesting. We call this the novelty axis. If you combine, you will get 4 types, 4 quadrants, 4 categories of teachers. We'll start with the first category of teacher whom I call as a person who is not novel, not useful. And this, pardon me for using this word, old goat, can be young goat also. But the idea is that the person is not useful and he is not interesting. Nobody is in this category. I will not speak anything more, but just to complete the 4 quadrants, I have to mention this. We hope nobody will ever belong to this category, but the other 3 categories do exist. The next category is pedantic bore. Very well read, erudite scholar, when he or she speaks, big bore. Lot of information, but the person is not interesting. Pedantic bores. Large number of teachers go into this category. Sometimes they turn out to be regurgitators, they turn out to be obfuscators as well. Then comes charlatan, mesmerizer, trickster. He will do all circus and drama. Subject, nothing is there. More dangerous than the other 2. In fact, I would say the charlatan is worse than the other 2. Because here is a person who does all sorts of gimmicks to camouflage what he or she wants to do. No subject. Never, ever fall into this category. Don't do all this to camouflage your ignorance. We have to be sure of what we are talking. Apart from that, we should go beyond and make it interesting. Let those things not, the style should not replace substance. Style and substance should go together. Then comes the creative teacher. By definition, a creative teacher is one who combines utility with novelty. The best teachers you have had are people who were not only useful, they also presented it in such a way that it was interesting. This is creativity. Is it possible for us to be creative in all that we teach? This is the question you may ask. You are saying creativity, everything I can't teach creatively. What do you mean? Please remember, everything may not be, but at least some things, important things, concepts can be creatively presented. And for that you must have that concern, genuine concern. I want my student to learn something. And for that, your creative ideas will come not when you are actually preparing. It will come between your preparations. When you are having a shower, when you are driving your car, you are going in the bus. That's the time your ideas will come. Ideas will come between your preparations, not actually when you are preparing. Creative ideas will come when you keep thinking, what can I do to make my student understand better, learn better? It will not come actually when you are preparing. It will come between your preparations. Creativity is possible if you have that concern. You will try to put it across in your unique way, and that is what is going to make the difference in their learning. Facilitation of learning is possible when you become creative. So we have seen the first one, don't be complete. Second is, don't mention anything once. What am I doing now? I'm repeating. Yes, I know. I'm not in any way doubting your ability. But pardon me, for my own sake, I'm repeating because I feel it is so important. When you go back after today's academic convention, if nothing is remembered, at least 1 or 2 guidelines if you remember, I think this day has achieved its purpose. Third one, don't restate, create. Whenever possible, wherever possible, be creative. Do something out of the book, out of the way, so that people will remember that and the message. You might not remember what has been said, but you will always remember how it has been put across. And that is creativity. So when we teach, it is important not just to tell what, but also how you put it across is equally important. Then comes, don't confess, profess. What do you mean by this? Don't confess, profess. When you are a professor, you profess something. You believe in something. Assistant professor. Professor means you profess. You believe in it. Enthusiasm. If you are not enthusiastic about what you are teaching, how do you expect your students to be interested and enthusiastic? Very often we have situations where a teacher comes and says, the topic I am taking today is a very abstract topic. Nobody understood this. I have read it 100 times. Even though I have read it 100 times, I have not understood much of it, but still I have to give this lecture because it is there in your syllabus. And then you continue like this. The student is looking at this professor who has read it 100 times and not understood. Poor me, I am not going to understand anything. No. Confess, profess simply means whatever you teach, teach with authority, with aplomb, with gusto, as if that's the most important thing in the world. And that is what I mean by saying you must be enthusiastic. If you're not enthusiastic, you're not going to enthuse your students. You're not going to inspire and influence your students. And that is the key. Enthusiasm is the key. It is the undercurrent of effective lecture. If you are not enthusiastic, you can never, ever influence. You can never touch your students. Enthusiasm is the key. Now you may wonder, why am I giving you guidelines negatively? Don't be complete. Don't mention anything once. Don't restate, create. Because the human mind understands negative messages better. No parking, we understand. Have you ever seen a board, yes parking? Nowhere. Everywhere you say no parking. Yes parking, we never see. If you see a board, you get suspicious. Some trick is there. Human mind understands negative messages better. Enough has been said about what to do, how to give an effective lecture. I am telling you, don't do this thing, then your lecture becomes effective. So pardon me, I am presenting it negatively. A boy went to school and the teacher asked, what is your name? The boy said, my name is Johnny Don't. What? Teacher was confused. Johnny Don't. Oh, Johnny Don't. I see. In his house, when he goes to the right, the mother says, Johnny Don't. If he goes to the left, mother says, Johnny Don't. If he picks up something, mother says, Johnny Don't. He thought his name is Johnny Don't. We live in this world of don't. Don't. Johnny Don't. So he thinks his name is Johnny. In that situation, pardon me, I'm using it negatively. Some things if you don't do, your lecture becomes effective. Enough has been said about what to do in a lecture. You have attended so many sessions. I am telling you today, don't do these things. Then your lecture becomes more effective. Then comes the next one. Don't extemporize, organize. We as teachers are very fond of saying, I have 23 years of experience. I can simply walk into class and talk. Possible. You can walk and talk. But the whole thing will be disorganized. Woodrow Wilson, one of the former presidents of the United States, he was asked to give a lecture. He only asked one question. How long do you want me to give a lecture? If it is 5 minutes, give me 1 month time to prepare. If it is 15 minutes, give me 15 days time. If I can talk endlessly without time limit, I am ready. We teachers are like that. We can talk and talk and talk and talk endlessly. It is more difficult to give the short lecture. When you give that 60 minutes or 50 minutes, whatever, 45 minutes, whatever lecture time you have, please remember it's a short lecture. You are condensing, and to condense it, you require a lot of preparation. You have to put it across in such a way that it is easily understandable. It requires much more effort to give a short lecture. To give a long lecture, it's very easy. Therefore, it is important for us as teachers, spend time on condensing. The shorter the lecture, the more time you need to prepare. And that is what I mean by saying, spend your time on organizing. Most of the time when you give a lecture, your effort is to decide what to teach. Please spend your time on how you're going to put it across. Equally important, the how is as important as what. What all of us decide. And then what not is also to be decided. But having decided that, please decide how you're going to put it across. Don't give a monologue. Lecture, the biggest bane of lecture is the monotony. Monotony of a lecture. When you watch a TV serial, there is a break in the monotony. When you watch a football match or a cricket match, suddenly one advertisement comes. When you go for a movie, there is intermission. When you give a lecture, no time for anything. You simply have to go full blast, no time to breathe. Look here, you have to finish 50 minutes, full blast, you finish the portion. This is the situation. This is where we give a lecture, because there is no time. 50 minutes and I have to cover this much. We don't even pause to consider whether some learning has happened. Breaking the monotony is critical. Breaking the monotony means 15, 20 minutes through a lecture, have a break. Some opportunity for engagement. Engagement is the key. Engagement is the key. Simply means the ability to get the student involved in some way, some activity. I'll just give you an example what it is to break the monotony. If you are presenting something, talking about it, 15 minutes through a lecture you can say, now my dear students, let us look at these statements. I want your response, true or false. Please respond true or false. I'm just giving an example of what it is to break the monotony in a lecture. First one, if you know it, you can teach it. Is it true or false? Just because you know it, can you teach it? It doesn't guarantee. Knowledge alone, I told you the best learner need not be the best teacher. Knowledge alone doesn't guarantee. In professional courses, I can say that because in a medical college, dental college, nursing college, teachers have no training to teach. They have qualification in their profession, but no qualification to teach, at least in school and perhaps in a little higher level, some sort of a training is there how to teach. But otherwise, in professional colleges, there is no teacher orientation happening. Only now, of course, things are catching up. And that is why it is the first statement, if you know it, you can teach it, is false. Because just because you know it doesn't guarantee you can teach it. Next one. Good teachers are born, not made. What do you think about this? We often hear, he's a born teacher. When he came out of his mother's womb, he was a fantastic teacher. Father, great teacher. Mother, great teacher. Product must be a fantastic teacher. Does it happen? It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. There is no gene for good teaching. Nothing is hereditary. Good teaching is an acquired skill. If it is genetic, then we'll do genetic engineering, not all these workshops, and say how to become a better teacher. All these faculty development programs have no meaning. This is an expression to indicate somebody is so good, so innately good, that you feel he's a born teacher. But in reality, effective teaching is an acquired skill. It is not inherited. It is not hereditary. It is not genetic, though we use this expression. Next one. Faculty teach content, not the students. This I mentioned to you before. We teach the subject, we don't teach our subjects. Basically to say, you must have that concern and care for your student. Next one. Silence in the classroom indicates learning. We take pride in saying, when I take class, there is pin drop silence. When there is pin drop silence, you should be worried. Why there is so much silence? Either all are sleeping or they are scared. First S is sleep, cause of silence. Second S is you scare them, you terrorize them. You don't have to go anywhere. Today teachers are terrorists. You terrorize them. I'll show you in the examination. The third S, which I often consider as a cause of silence, is sarcasm. Today teachers cannot use physical abuse. We use sarcasm. We just humiliate a student in front of his peers. We hit. After that the student is quiet. You find out the weakest spot and humiliate a student. Humiliating a student, insulting a student in front of his peers, sarcasm. We use sarcasm very powerfully. As teachers, we are very good. We do that sarcasm. How effective you are as a teacher is how sarcastic you can be, and then you can make the students quiet. Is that a safe learning environment you are creating? When you look at silence in the classroom, please be aware, if you want to be truly effective as a teacher, can you avoid sleep? That sleep is the most harmless. But the other two, can you not scare your students? Can you not be sarcastic? Not easy. And that is why being a teacher requires much more thought. It's easy to be sarcastic, it is easy to create fear. Is it possible to create a situation where the students will be looking forward to meeting you, not being scared of you? And that is what I mean by saying silence in the classroom doesn't indicate learning. We often say there is so much silence, everybody has learned. No, it doesn't. Having said that, we are now looking at the guidelines. First is don't be complete. Second is don't mention anything once. What am I doing now? Not mentioning it once, I'm repeating, pardon me, I'm repeating for the third time. Don't restate, create, be novel wherever possible, whenever possible. Don't confess, profess, be enthusiastic. Whatever you want to teach, be enthusiastic. The most important thing in the world is presented as if that is the most important thing in the world. Then don't extemporize, organize, condense it. Present it in a way that you make the how of it as important as the what of it. Don't give a monologue, break the monotony. In a teaching session, make sure 1 or 2 opportunities are there to at least take a deep breath and improve circulation. At least let go so that the students are not kept in a totally passive situation throughout the learning session. The last one, very important, don't exceed time. What do you mean by don't exceed time? You must do what Sunil Gavaskar did. All of us have now seen Sunil Gavaskar as a TV commentator. He comes and gives his expert comments on different things. I have seen Sunil Gavaskar way back in 1987, India's leading opening batsman. And what did he do? He scored 96 runs against Pakistan in Bangalore Test. Next morning, we read in the papers, Sunil Gavaskar retires from Test cricket. We were shocked. Sunil Gavaskar retiring, he can open India's batting for the next 5 years. He is retiring. He retired when people asked, why are you retiring? Not, why are you not retiring? High time you retire. Similarly, when you take a lecture, leave when people ask, why did you stop? Not, why is he not stopping? You are shuffling the feet, you are looking at the watch, time is up, the fellow is not stopping. That's what you are thinking now, when this fellow is going to stop. Now, leave when people ask why, not why not. And that is captured in this quote. When I give a lecture, I accept that people look at their watches. But what I do not tolerate is when they look at it, raise it to their ear to find out if it has stopped. Watch has stopped. This fellow is not stopping. This is the situation. So please remember, leave when people ask why, not why not. They should thirst for more. They should want more. They should ask for more. They should feel, I want more of it. He ended. Why did he end? That's the question, not why is he not ending. This is the situation. Having said that, now what is a lecture? If you were to go to a pharmacy and ask, give me that tablet called lecture, that lecture will have these ingredients. An effective lecture will be lively, it will be enthusiastic, it will be educative, there will be some substance in it. It will be creative, there will be novelty, something out of the way, out of the book. It will be thought-provoking, it will kindle the interest, it will be inspiring, it will be influencing, it will provoke thinking. It should not suppress thinking. If you tell everything, there will be no thinking. You tell something, provoke. It should be understandable. It is at the wavelength most of the students can understand. It is not for an esoteric few. Understandable. You are concerned about the majority of students. Have you understood something at least? Understandable. It is relevant. They see the relevance. Why am I speaking to you about this? Please tell them the relevance. When relevance is there, the lecture becomes more effective. And most of all, there is an element of entertainment. I'm not saying theater. I'm not saying entertainment in that sense. I'm just saying a lecture must be more than a handout. A lecture must be more than a PowerPoint presentation. A lecture must be more than a video. If somebody says, oh, your handout is there, no. Your notes are there, no. I need not come. That is the ultimate insult for you. If you are equated to something inanimate, some paper, some PowerPoint presentation is replacing you, you are better than that? Can you prove that? A lecture, when it is equated with a handout and a PowerPoint. If a student feels handout is there, no. Lecture notes are there, no. I don't have to go for a lecture. That means your lecture is totally ineffective. The ultimate feeling that the student must have is, I will miss something. His presence, his living, loving presence is missed. And that is what I mean by saying enjoy. There must be an element of enjoyment. It should be more than an audio cassette. It must be more than a video cassette. It must be more than a PowerPoint presentation. Now, we often hear this word, power corrupts. In politics, we often use this word. And we often say power corrupts. But I am telling you, PowerPoint has corrupted the practice of lecture today. Because with the arrival of PowerPoint, we have ruined presentation. I have used PowerPoint. But what I am saying is, we often abuse PowerPoint. And PowerPoint has absolutely ruined, corrupted the practice of lecture. We have overused, abused PowerPoint. And it is often said, we have caused death by PowerPoint. So apart from causing sleep, apart from causing scare, apart from being sarcastic, we are also murderers. We have murdered more students through PowerPoint than any other method. I say this, I don't mean it in sarcasm, but I'm saying that today it has come to a situation where today if the lecturer doesn't have PowerPoint, he is powerless. He depends so entirely on the PowerPoint. Without PowerPoint, he doesn't have power. And this is something that we have to remember. There is an article, I didn't expect you to read it, but I'm telling you, an article has come, Death by PowerPoint, how students start fidgeting. I'm just telling you the effect of PowerPoint, the side effect, the bad effect of PowerPoint, and we must be aware of it. Having said that, remember this one aspect, the best visual aid is not the PowerPoint, not the writing board, not the overhead projector, not the video. The best visual aid is you, the living, loving teacher. Nothing can replace you. If you can have that message across, I think your lecture will be effective. Nothing can replace. Technology is fine. It should be an aid. It can never replace you. Never take refuge behind technology. Technology is there as an aid. It cannot supplant, it can only supplement you as a teacher. Never ever allow technology to take it. Technology is there, use it. It is not that technology uses you. Never allow that to happen. Having said that, please remember when you give a lecture, please do this A-E-I-O-U. Attract attention. Do something that will attract the attention. Establish rapport. Very important, very difficult in a classroom where a large number of students are there. Inspire more than inform. Information is important, I agree, but inspiration is perhaps equally important. Organize the content and use visual aids if you use them, no compulsion. If you use them optimally. To explain this, I'm going to conclude with an experiment which I think is very critical and very crucial. And this you can see will summarize all that I have told you. Please may I have the lights? Can I have the lights in that? I'm now going to tell you what it is to give a lecture. And I'm going to show you an experiment which I think is appropriate in the context of lecturing. I'm going to represent this as a student. The student is the reagent bottle. You have seen this in chemistry. You have seen it in your labs. The reagent bottle, most of you have seen this. The student is waiting to be lectured to. Reagent bottle with a narrow neck. Narrow neck because all of us go to lectures with skepticism, doubt. Will anything come out of lecture? So they come with a lot of suspicion and doubt. So that's why narrow neck and the student is waiting. Then comes the teacher. Teacher is represented by beaker. Small beaker. Teacher, he is going to give a lecture. And how is he going to give a lecture? He has got this much information. This much. Library has got so much information. He has been told, don't tell everything, don't be complete. So he decides, okay, for his level, I will only teach this much. So he decides to teach only this much. And then he goes, and then he dumps. Look at what has happened. The student has collapsed. You dump so much information, the fellow simply collapses. This is what happens. We dump information at breakneck speed, the student collapses. And nothing is learned. You say, nothing. Student learns what is in his head. Does he have a head only? This is the question you ask. What is the problem here? Why did something not going? Why? What is the reason? The lid is closed. Very often we don't open the lid. Opening the lid means making the student open to receive, make the environment suitable for learning, making the mind open. Is it possible for